it's Shannon with Play with the World and the author of Find Your Happy. And this week's message is super important. I kid you not. In fact, this message is probably the most important because it's something that every single person feels and relates to at some point in their life. We can't help it because it's part of being human. It's part of being here on earth and just like experiencing life. You can't not have this happen. But the reality is this is the number one thing that keeps us from happiness. And I must tell you, it is the self-sabotager that takes us out of our own game. And that is really the single biggest threat to your own happiness is comparison. Comparing yourself to other people and also comparing yourself to your own self. You know, perhaps you're in a situation right now where you're reflecting back on where you were yesterday or the day before or a couple months ago, like, oh, I was making more money then, or I was happier in my relationship then, and I'm just not where I want to be. And there's so many thoughts that go on in our head, and if you're comparing yourself to an older version of yourself or a newer version that you want to be but you're not there yet, you're actually taking yourself out of your own life. You're taking yourself out of the manifestation process. You're taking yourself out of really being present and enjoying life. And so here's the thing, when you look outside yourself and you compare yourself to other people, what does it do? It actually makes you more depressed. I know this from lots of experiences from both my own journey and then working with coaching clients, like everybody's relating to it. Because let's say you want to manifest love and you really want to find a soulmate, but every time you see someone else who is in a relationship, pay attention to what feelings come up for you. Are you feeling jealous? Are you feeling suffocated because you're single? Are you feeling totally overwhelmed? Like, oh gosh, they have what I want, and how come they have it and it's not fair? Well, you want to pay attention to your emotions because that is actually keeping you from getting what you want. And so a lot of the times we do this. I know in my own journey that I did this when I was really starting to my own business. I left corporate and I was looking outside of myself. I was always looking at what everyone else was doing, what other self-help authors were doing, and if they could figure it out, then I could probably do it. And so I was looking outside of myself for something I needed to feel on the inside, which was acceptance and self-love. A lot of the times when we look outside of ourselves and we see someone else who has something that we want, or we're comparing ourselves to an older version of ourselves or a newer version that we don't think is attainable, we're actually avoiding feeling self-love. We're taking ourselves out of feeling accepted. So the way to cure this, the way to really combat this, is to accept yourself with where you are right now and recognize that what you see in other people is actually a reflection of what's possible for you. So if you see these beautiful couples and you're single, Valentine's Day just happened, or if you see other people really excelling in their business and you're like, why is it not happening for me? Say, thank you, universe, for showing me what's possible, and I know this is on its way to me, and continue to get to work. Continue to turn it back around and get to work. Because here's the thing, comparison is an easy way out. It's something we all fall into, but guess what happens? We compare, and then we feel bad about ourselves, and then we say, something's wrong with me, and then we say, I'm not worthy, or clearly they have it figured out, and I'm just cursed, or whatever dialogue goes on in your head. What that dialogue is doing is it's keeping you from action. It's keeping you in lazy mode. And I'm going to get real here because you have to take action. So in my own journey, I had an experience where while I was growing my own business over the past couple years, as I said, was always looking outside of myself, and I would get frustrated. I would get freaking mad because I'm like, why did they get that interviewed? I pitched the same media and clearly they should have asked me because I want to be on TV or whatever the story. Because here's the thing, comparison is a complete attack on your own self. It is just a story we create in our mind. Comparison is attacking yourself only. So when I was looking at all these other people who looked like their career was rising, I would completely reflect back to me and realize that all I was doing was hurting myself. And so there's the 3 steps that I took. I first had to forgive myself. It took a while, but you just say, I forgive myself. These thoughts are only human. But really what you have to do is the very first thing is to recognize that when you compare yourself to other people, it keeps you from focusing on what you really want and what you need. When you're comparing yourself to other situations, it's keeping you from action mode. And so, as I said, the action is really what you want to focus on. So instead of comparing myself to all these people, which I kept doing, and it was just making me mad. I was like, how come they got a book deal much faster? I don't understand. Well, we don't have to understand. We just have to trust. And so part of comparing is really a lack of trust. It's when we don't actually trust that the universe, or that we are worthy of our desires, or the universe is going to bring us what we really want and desire and need. And so this lack of trust is also tied to the lack of self-acceptance and self-love. So the best way to do that is to give yourself those. And so how did I do that? At least with the situation with growing my business, I decided to unfollow certain people who I love and care for deeply, but I have certain mentors who are self-help New York Times bestsellers, and every time I saw a post on their Facebook page or their Instagram, I would get really frustrated. I would get jealous and I would get totally mad. And I was like, I don't like feeling jealous for the people who I totally love and appreciate. I got to look at what's going on inside of me. And what I realized is the best thing for me was to not look outside of myself. So for a few months, I unfollowed them and, still emailed and talked on the phone, but I didn't need to see updates because it was actually taking me out of my own game. It was keeping me focusing on what's going on out there instead of what I can do right now to get me to meet my own goals. So I unFacebooked, followed them, uninstagrammed, and I got a book deal. And my business started growing. And a lot of really great things happened because I honored that voice inside of me. So you have a voice inside of you. You have this calling that is talking to you. And sometimes when we compare ourselves to other people, or we compare ourselves, we're actually avoiding listening to that voice. So give yourself permission to listen to that voice inside of you because it has a message for you. And maybe that message is saying it's time to work out more. Stop comparing yourself to those people. Yes, they're skinnier or whatever that thought goes in your head. But maybe what you really know you need is to start taking better care of your body. This was happening to me a few months ago. Maybe you're comparing yourself to other people and you say, wow, they sure look like they have it together. Well, here's what you want to do. Recognize, so important, recognize that when people post stuff, especially with social media, we're in this day and age where everything's just so public, recognize that people only post a fraction of what they really want to be shown. And sometimes we don't even think about it, but hey, I don't post when I'm having an anxiety attack. I don't post when I'm crying and depressed or going to sleep really feeling bad about myself. I don't post about that stuff, but it happens because I'm human. Of course, we have the tools to pull out, but here's the thing you want to think about. If you're falling into comparison mode a lot, recognize that there is no superhuman. And a lot of what we see when we compare is we put other people on a pedestal. And the pedestal is what keeps us from really reaching our goals. Because we think, wow, they're up there, I can never be there. So recognize that everyone hurts. Everyone feels the same way you do. They might not feel it right now, but we all have sadness. We all have depression. We all have frustration and happiness and joy and total laughter and moments of complete awesomeness. But this is part of life. It's a part of experiencing the ups and downs. And so if you're comparing your specific moment to someone's moment, it really is like apples and oranges because everyone's on their own journey and everyone has their own path. So recognize that your own internal voice is talking to you, and how is it talking to you? During the times that you compare, what is it that voice says? And you can return to love by focusing on what you can do. For me, it was turning off the likes, stop following certain people, and getting myself back grounded to where I need to be. And this is important. So I hope that you guys enjoy this and have fun on your journey to happiness. If you guys liked this post, I want to invite you to my 4-week coaching session. Find Your Happy is doing a 4-week online retreat. We're actually going to talk about the 5 self-sabotaging habits. I just shared the one with you. We're going to go deeper and we're going to remove them. And I'm going to go much deeper, of course, on how to really combat this and make sure comparison doesn't take you out of your own life. So with that said, I hope you all have a great time. And remember that comparison is a complete attack on yourself, and you don't want to attack yourself. You want to love yourself. So love yourself. And when you see others that have something you want, say thank you for showing me what is possible. This is on its way to me.
Bring me down.